Hi there, I thought it about time after I had some use on it to sum up and review the Wright Patriot small fixed blade knife. This is a very nice, light, strong fixed blade designed for everyday carry purposes. In my particular situation, because of where I live, fixed blade knife carry in public is very much a no-no. If you are going to carry a knife in public, you're technically not supposed to, although there is lots of grey areas. So you carry something a bit more standard, like a Swiss Army knife, or something a bit more understated. Carrying a fixed blade knife in Australia, generally best just left for private property, the woods, camping, that sort of thing, where it's definitely covered by it being part of a hobby. Anyway, I digress. I carried this a lot around home. I carried it just other places where I wasn't worried about pulling it out and using it. Took it on a couple of walks. I've used it a lot, and it's very good alternative to carrying a folding knife when you're in a bit more of a hostile environment and more likely to be cutting things like wood and doing things where you just need that strength of a fixed blade, doing push cuts against resistance, things like that. Very light, small knife. I'll post all the specs below. Suffice to say, it's probably a little bit heavier than an average pocket knife of this size, just because it's got a very full thick tang and handle there, but overall you're getting about a 2.5 inch blade, you're getting about a 3.5 inch handle, which I find fits 3 fingers on it very comfortably. The fourth does sort of sit over that hump. You can squeeze them in. I've got larger hands, so it's definitely the right amount of handle they've given you for a knife of this size. The micarta is nice and warm to the touch. It's polished, so it's not super grippy, but the knife has a nice little way of framing your hand so it doesn't travel anywhere it's not supposed to. The blade is flat ground and made of D2 tool steel. I can conclude that Wright do a very good treatment on their D2 tool steel. I've done things with this knife that's probably not supposed to be used for. I've split small bits of wood and such, and it's done just fine. Stayed very sharp, and after use I've just been stropping it and it stayed very sharp. Yeah. A flat grind is also a really good utility grind, so it's good for anything from cardboard to wood, and you can make some very precise cuts with it. Got a nice little fine tip as well. It's fine yet strong. It does have a bit of material behind it, so you can use it for doing small drilling and sort of awl type work in wood. I've used this for obviously shaving wood down, just carving and playing around with wood. It does really well. It's really comfortable in the hand. The rounded handle, really good for, as I said, pressure cuts and things like that, where the knife does kind of get pushed back by the material it's cutting. And even when it comes to doing sort of larger stuff, it does okay, because you've got that confidence that it's nice and strong. It's got a very sharp flat spine. This spine will definitely throw oodles of sparks off a ferro rod. Oodles and oodles. I'll just run in some footage of me doing that. Just me igniting some cotton tinder, and also just throwing them in general, because it does throw them with abandon. Very sharp. Probably the sharpest spine I felt. The only trade-off is that sometimes when you're doing real intense sort of push cutting, your thumb, just by nature of gripping something hard, your thumb will sort of push really hard up against that spine, and those sharp edges will kind of dig into your thumb, but it's never anything that's left marks or anything like that. It's a really good knife for stripping bark as well, and just doing shaving work because of that spine too. Really high quality. Comes with this sheath here. The sheath that it comes with is just a really good quality leather sheath. I find it fits really well on my belt, very unnoticeable, but it also, because it's rather small, it fits in most pants pockets, even like track pants pockets. It fits just fine, and it's fairly thin even with that loop over. So it's definitely an everyday carry able knife. And another good thing about having a leather sheath over a Kydex sheath is if push comes to shove, you can use this flap here of the leather to strop the knife. You could even load that with compound and have it as sort of a pre-made strop. Because this is such a small knife, you don't really need a great deal of surface area to be able to strop it back to sharp. What don't I like about the knife? Not a great deal. I'm really happy with it actually. The fit and finish it came with is really good. It's got that sort of handmade quality to it. It's nice and sharp, it stays sharp, the steel is good. It hasn't got a lanyard hole, which some people might have an issue with, but a lanyard on such a small knife. If it needed more to pull it out of the sheath, that might be a bit more of a valid criticism, but it kind of comes out of the sheath just right, so it's not going to fall out of the sheath, but it's also not going to not going to be stuck in there needing a lanyard to lever it out or anything like that. So it's just a very small knife. It's probably the only thing you really need to be aware of. So I'll just put it down on the table here, and just like, this is another kind of companionish sort of knife that you'd probably carry with another larger fixed blade. So that's a buck. That's my buck compadre. That's kind of your mid-sized general purpose knife. This could be like a situation where you just took this knife and nothing else. So as you can see, it is very much just a small task knife. It's definitely not recommended to be just your main blade unless you're just going somewhere urban. If you're going to the woods, you need to be bringing something at least this size to assist you as well. Even probably too small to just bring this knife and an axe. Great system would be this knife and this knife. This is the Falkniven A1. Those would sort most of your cutting needs, the two of them. I mean, you look how small that LT Wright is next to the Falkniven. It's you know, just about the same size as the handle of this beast, and just the general thickness and everything. So you've got two real variety in two knives there, so that would make a really good system. But yeah, it is just a rather small knife. The value is high, I think. You pay 75 American dollars, which is very, very good for like a handcrafted or at least a semi-custom product. There's lots of different options. You can get different coloured handle materials, types of handle materials. You can also get a Kydex sheath option for a little bit more, which just was slightly too much that I could afford, just being in Australia with the exchange rate and whatnot. By the time I got it here with shipping, it was about $130. So I thought that was okay. Very, very good value, in my opinion. So overall, if you're looking for a fixed blade, everyday carry knife, I'd really highly recommend this. I think D2 is a good choice because it will put up with a little bit more of that staining, foodie sort of stuff if you do choose to put it into that role. And the flat grind is just a really good small utility knife grind as well. Things like sabres and Scandi grinds tend to be a little bit thicker and get a little bit less of a fine edge, just for on a blade length. This sort of small and shallow. So really, really good overall. We're very, very happy with it. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.